And welcome back. It is Mornings with Pat Kreitlow on 98.9 WXCO. I'm Chad Holmes. And this morning we have been hearing a conversation I had yesterday with the executive director of the women's community of Wausau, Jane Graham Jennings. And continuing our discussion, coming up tomorrow, it's a special day as part of Sexual Assault Awareness Month. It's called Denim Day. And I asked Jane Graham Jennings, what is Denim Day?
Well, a number of years ago in Italy, there was a sexual assault conviction, and the Supreme Court of Italy overturned the conviction because they believed that the victim, the woman, was wearing such tight pants that it wasn't possible to have been raped without her consenting to that because she had such tight jeans on that she must have been a willing partner in this sexual assault. And so when it was overturned, the women in the Italian parliament came to the next session all wearing tight denim to say, this is ridiculous. When people don't understand all of the issues in surrounding sexual assault and the ways in which victims are either coerced, threatened, or freeze, there's so many complexities, and people want to think that either you are assaulted and you fight back or you're a willing partner. In sexual assault, people who perpetuate sexual assault say it was consensual, especially now with DNA. There's no more, it wasn't me. We know it was you, but now it's consensual. And then anything to make it appear consensual. So victims of sexual assault, once they're in that position, oftentimes what they talk about is they realize this is going to happen regardless. And so they may do things at the direction of the perpetrator. So for example, you could imagine someone wearing really tight jeans. Let's imagine the perpetrator has his arm on the neck of the victim and says, if you don't take your jeans off, I'm going to kill you. Mm-hmm. So victims will do whatever they need to do to make it through the sexual assault and try to stay alive. Some victims will just freeze. They just lay there and they're afraid, which would have an opportunity for a perpetrator to remove tight jeans. Mm-hmm. So the vision that most people have of sexual assault isn't typically how it happens. So we, again, need to kind of get rid of the images that media and movies create for us and realize that there's so many other complexities, and victims of sexual assault are doing whatever they have to make it through.
And along that line, to make it through, when you basically get told you're a liar, what is roughly the percentage of women that are assaulted that don't even report it because they don't want to go through this?
Yes.
You hear the word, she wanted it, or that's not true.
Yes.
So for every one of these stories you hear that actually goes into the system, I would imagine many more never even report it.
Most don't report. So depending on which study you're reading, upwards of 2/3 of victims of sexual assault have never reported it because it is so damning to an individual. When victims come forward, you can think of any high-profile case that we've seen and what it does to a victim's life. We put all of the shame on survivors of the sexual assault and not on the perpetrators. There's case after case after case that we see in our media that victims are treated so poorly. They have to leave their schools. They have to leave colleges. They leave because of the shame and the harassment that is put on them because someone else took control over their body.
And that's, I think, one of the greatest tragedies, the word shame.
Yeah.
That somebody, number one, is assaulted and is injured in ways that we can never probably imagine. And then even afterwards, you have shame when you're the victim. I mean, there's something so wrong about that, isn't there?
Yes. That's a really hard thing. So when we're working with survivors, we spend a lot of time helping them work through that because humans, we're very logical creatures. We want things to make sense. And sexual assault doesn't make sense, particularly, again, because it's most often someone we know. So the way our brains fill in those holes of things that aren't logical is we make it make sense. So for example, victims would be like, I can't believe I went on a date with that person. Why would I do that? Clearly, there's something wrong with me. I'm a terrible judge of character. So immediately our brains start filling in the pieces because it doesn't make any sense. Our brains fill in those holes and try to make it make sense. And unfortunately, that usually is self-blame. If I would have done something else, this wouldn't have happened because being assaulted doesn't make sense.
I guess to wrap up this discussion, and I hope to have you back on a regular basis, because that's something I've felt like, man, I've missed out on having interesting conversations with you. For those women out there, again, this end of this month of April, who may be in a situation that feel like there's no way out for what you do, and and I think something that you said before, that the reason you have a job, and I think. I believe I've heard you say that you would love to be out of a job.
100%.
You would love to be able to do something else. But for those women out there that feel like there is no hope, what's the first thing you tell them?
I always say, you're not alone. This wasn't your fault. You didn't do anything to deserve this. There is help available. Reach out, ask for help. There is no shame in someone hurting you. That's not your fault. Whether that's physical violence, sexual assault, nothing you do can make someone harm you. You're not alone.
How can they reach the women's community?
We have a 24-hour support line, 715-842-7323, always available. You can call anonymously if you're just trying to get some ideas, some feelings. You do not have to report to law enforcement to get services from our agency. We will not report unless you want help with that. So victims that we work with, get to choose what their path forward is. And there is always a path forward. I just say to people, when you are harmed, when you are assaulted, it feels like it's ever present. It's right in your face all the time. And eventually it won't be in your face all the time. It does get better. Your life is altered now. This sexual assault will be part of your story, but it's not all of your story. So we can work with you through your journey of healing and being better.
And I will make sure to put that number and the link to the website and other information as part of our story on WXCO.FM, where you can get this conversation unedited, as opposed to our little segments on the morning program. And that is Jane Graham Jennings, the Women's Community Executive Director. More to come. The time is 8:30. Pat will be back in a moment here on 98.9 WXCO.